Well, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by my dear friend and hated nemesis, Kat McDonald, for a game of Tangled Blessings by Cassie Mothwin. Tangled Blessings is a solo journaling or two-player RPG inspired by dark academia media ghost stories in graduate school. It is about a wizarding college with wandering specters, assigned houses, curses, devil's bargains, and even more supernatural flavor. It brings together this fantastical sense of terror to help players craft a story that spans their time at the academy, culminating with one final showdown against their rival. This game is incredible. I love it so much. It is rich, it is evocative, it is interesting. This game, the prompts on it are so flavorful in the way that it drives you through this journey and that the school experience changes as you go from freshman to upperclassman. I love Tangled Blessings a lot, and I think you're going to love listening to the game that we played. You can learn more about Tangled Blessings at CassieMothwin.com, or you can check the show notes for more information. Just as a heads up for listeners, this is the first of a two-part episode. This covers our first 2 years at university. Check back in a couple weeks for part 2 to finish off the story and see where our characters go as they become upperclassmen. Kat is, of course, a game designer with Peach Garden Games and the award-winning game master of the Sword of Symphonies podcast. They are also the yearly organizer of the Solo But Not Alone bundle, which is currently available on itch.io. You can find a link to that in show notes. The Solo But Not Alone bundle is a bundle of solo role-playing games gathered together and sold as a bundle to raise funds for Take This, which is a nonprofit organization working to decrease the stigma and increase mental health support in games. It is a wonderful organization. It is a wonderful bundle. It is a wonderful cause. Like I said, you can find a link to the Solo But Not Alone bundle for this year in the show notes. Also in the show notes, truly, go check out all of the things that Kat does. She is an incredible performer, designer, Sword of Symphonies, Roar to Heaven. All of these things that Kat makes are like inspiring and cool, and they fucking rip. And I really, there's a reason that I declare Kat my nemesis, and it's because everything they do is so good that it pushes me to make my work just a little bit better. And they're just wonderful people. And so go check out all of Kat's work. You can find links to all of it and more in the show notes. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so very, very excited. I did not realize when we collectively picked out this game today that I was going to get to stare down one of my hated blood duels in a battle today. And so I'm very, very excited. I've got Kat McDonald here on the show. Kat, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Hi. I am so excited. I love winning.
What a good energy to bring just to the first moments of an episode. I feel like we're already where we want to be in terms of just energy and joy. I'm so happy to have you on the show. This is going to be a wonderful recording.
I am beyond excited, genuinely. I can never keep gaping up.
Likewise. I feel like it is very difficult to maintain this we are going to destroy each other energy.
It's so hard.
But I'm so happy to have you on the show. Why don't you at the very top of the episode take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about.
Hi, I am Kat. I am the award-winning host king of the podcast Sword of Symphonies and the choir master of Roar to Heaven. I do not always lose best GM to Jeff. I won one time.
We're 1-1, which means that technically, I believe 2020.
2-1.
Oh, well,
that's about LA.
Oh, I forgot about. Yeah, all right. I guess we're 2-1. I guess technically the rubber match happened, and I was not in the room for it, which is We need to have a rubber match where we're both in the room. Is technically what has to happen.
Absolutely, it does. It does. I don't know. Listen. I know for a fact you're not gonna beat me in Minnesota.
That's fair. Anyway, talk about what you got going on.
I have recently released the Blazing Hymn Ultimate Collection, so that's everything I ever have or ever will write for my game, Blazing Hymn, which is a transparent anime fan game in which you use song-powered mech suits to fight angels. It's one of my most popular games, so I put out the Ultimate Collection. And I mean, I've got a big game coming up that I can't talk a bunch about. Most of what I do is podcasting. I love to be in front of a microphone. Sword of Symphonies is my dear friend's playtesting heroic chord for me. It's been running for 3 years. And Roar to Heaven is different friends playing Blazing Hymn and being punished for it.
We love this. We love podcasting as punishment. It's a good energy. It's the core of so much of what we do in this art form. Truly.
Absolutely. You have to have a lot of love for them. My award acceptance speech at New Jersey was very much entirely me rambling about how much you need to love your players. I think it's very, very true. But what I didn't get around to mentioning in that acceptance speech was how much you also need to punish them.
This is true. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of games, do you want to play a game today?
I would love to play a game today.
All right. Well, we're playing Tangled Blessings today. This is a Dark Academia magical school game. It is a game that is designed for solo play or two-player or a two-player existence. We are going to play students that have been accepted into a large, ominous, supernatural, terrifying, probably cursed and haunted academy. We are also going to play hated rivals who are going to try and one-up each other and are ultimately going to face one another in a duel/final exam at the end of our term.
The manual does say the rival doesn't have to be an enemy.
Oh, that is true. That is fair. I mean,
we can choose that, though.
We can choose that. We'll see how it plays out. Thank you for calling that out. I think my brain just immediately went to enemy, but
we're gonna choose that probably.
But
for the listeners at home, you don't have to be enemies.
Thank you for calling that out. All right, so we have been accepted to the Brackroot Academy. The Speaking Gem has called to us. The Speaking Gem is a haunted object that reaches out to people in their dream. It calls you to the academy. It is sort of an acceptance. It is sort of a haunting ritual that might kill you, but we have made it here without dying, which means that we have been accepted to the academy.
And I'm so excited not to be dead.
I'm so excited not to be dead. So we are going to we have been called to the academy in our early 20s. We can adjust this to our idea of who is attending, who our characters are. We have a few questions that we are going to answer. We have what is our name and pronouns? How did we receive a letter from the headmaster? What loose ends did we have to tie up? What do we hope to gain by becoming a mage? And how did the Speaking Gem talk to us in dreams? So do you have any thoughts about any of those questions? No,
but luckily, when I don't have thoughts about things, there's a particular household object I consult.
I'm listening.
I am so glad we're playing this game in particular because I am such a tarot nerd. I teach tarot.
I'm so happy. We've had a long conversation about this just before recording, and I'm delighted to learn this. This could not have worked out better.
Every so often, I run the Butterfly Throne Learners Circle. It's a pay-what-you-want 6-week course. Teaches people how to read tarot.
I am also going to. I'm going to pull a major arcana for each of these 5 questions, as I think how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I've shuffled. I know that I'm going to need the first 5 arcana for our house assignment, but I've shuffled them back in just in case they come up. Love it.
Okay. So I have drawn the Devil.
Appropriate, as I have drawn the Fool. These are inexorably tied because in my Philadelphia deck, they are the Fanatic and Gritty, and then Fanatic and Gritty are brothers in arms, and therefore those two are linked. If we are to be rivals, and also, I mean, I know we said we were going to pick enemy, but that does kind of push me towards thinking about what our rivalry is like if I'm imagining Gritty and the Fanatic.
Yeah. Because like Gritty and the Fanatic are hypothetical. They're in completely different games.
Yes.
They don't.
And they get along. Like they hang out together and they seem to be friendly.
They seem to be friendly because their enemy is not each other, but the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think my name is going to be Phil Green. I think Phil Green, his pronouns.
Yeah. The Devil in the deck that I'm reading, because I'm reading the Tarot at the End of the Rainbow. It's typically the deck that I teach with. So I figured since we were doing a school setting, that was kind of an appropriate choice. I have so many tarot decks, listener. I have arguably too many. So I'm gonna go with the good old fashioned devil name of Lucian. You know what? I'm also gonna go green
Interesting. I like the decision.
because
I'm excited
the
about this.
the devil in this deck is kind of a Cthulhu man,
Okay, sure.
so he's also green. Are we spelling it with an E or not?
Let's go E. Let's go green with an E.
Yeah, we're related.
I like this. I like this a great deal.
Lucian is he, they. I think.
So for my next card, how did you receive your letter? I have drawn Temperance as represented by 2023 NBA MVP Joel Embiid. I am very, very happy about this. And I think, how did I receive my letter? I am drawing on, I'm thinking specifically, I kind of like, I don't quite know what it means, or like what it means about the academy, what it means about like status, but like I'm thinking about like watching specifically the MVP announcement where like it is like there is like a press conference, and I don't know if maybe it's a you know what I'm gonna say is that it was a press conference in a dream.
Oh, that's good.
Like it was a dream where like the headmaster like read off a list of names, and you heard the names of every one of or at least Phil heard the names of every one of his colleague or every one of his fellow students, and then Phil's name in the process, and then woke up with just a knowledge that this was where he was headed.
And I think very, very differently. I drew the world, which in Tarot at the End of the Rainbow is Yggdrasil. So I think Lucian found it in a tree. I think he was on a walk in the woods. I don't think he likes to be around people. And he found a letter addressed to him in a hollow in a tree.
That's great. I like that. That's great.
It also sets us up as being kind of very different characters.
Yeah, it really does. So what loose ends did I need to tie up? I have drawn the Hermit, represented by the Philadelphia Magic Gardens. And I love the magic. They are one of my favorite things in the city of Philadelphia. And I'm envisioning like this idea of, I almost envision this being, I'm thinking about the idea that like the Magic Gardens are this like glass collage decorative art project that spreads out across like 3 city blocks along outer walls and alleyways. I recommend Googling Philly Magic Garden to just look at the photos because they are unbelievably beautiful. And so I'm kind of envisioning this is something where, because the card is also the Hermit, and I'm kind of envisioning this being a thing where, this tells me a little bit about Phil. If Phil is the Hermit, Phil, like, I think has been a loner for most of his life, and like this one gesture is kind of his way of like saying goodbye to the neighborhood that he's lived in and loved without necessarily being a part, like while being removed from it. And so like there is this decorative thing, like there's this mural that has spread across several houses that has appeared when he has departed for the academy.
Aw, that's so cute. I drew the Hanged Man, which is, I mean, a hanged man's always usually pictured dangling by the ankle from a tree. So we've got another kind of tree image here. And in this one, there's a leprechaun and he's trying to get the gold, but a mischievous fairy has snared his leg with vines and attached him to a tree. And so maybe I think like Lucian had plans, like specifically like financial plans. Maybe he was set to inherit something. But like the track he was on would have ended in him being pretty well off.
Interesting.
And this tree has kind of snatched him away from that with this letter.
Interesting.
So he's got to kind of recontextualize who he wants to be and figure out where he wants to go. Because he's represented by the devil, I think this is actually kind of difficult for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, it's money. Like, it makes the world go round.
I like that. I really like that. This also kind of tells me like how we relate as family. Are we brothers? Are we cousins? What's the vibe?
That's a good question.
I'm getting
brothers would be.
I'm getting a brother vibe.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting a vibe that like if I'm kind of getting a vibe that like maybe you're the successful brother and I'm sort of the
Yeah.
airhead artist brother.
Yeah. Lucian's the oldest. Lucian's the one who's set to inherit our father's business.
I like this. I really like this.
And has been planning to, but is kind of we're both kind of isolated in different ways.
Yeah.
Like Phil doesn't like to go out, and Lucian, I think, is the kind of person who's always got to be on around people.
Interesting.
And so kind of needs to like go on nature walks to not have to pretend to be nicer than he is.
So our next question is, what do you hope to gain by becoming a mage? And I'm going to take this I'm looking at the card that I've drawn, and I'm going to take it in an unexpected direction.
I love that, please.
Because the card I drew is strength. And strength is represented by what else? The most Philadelphian icon, but the Rocky statue at the foot of the art museum.
My boy! So I adore the Rocky movies.
Well, then you're going to know exactly where
thing.
I'm going with this. Because I just watched Rocky 1 like recently. Like I just rewatched it very recently. He notably like does not particularly want to be champion.
He not only that, he doesn't believe he can.
Right. It's kind of a thing where like he like a big part of and I'm kind of envisioning like that early Rocky where he kind of like after he's kind of talked himself into it, or like in that early period where he's like, this is going to be like, I'm going to give it my best. I'm not going to win. Like I don't think that this is a case where Phil thinks that this is going to lead anywhere life-changing. I think that he thinks that this is a neat opportunity. He's going to give it everything he's got. But I think that he's kind of resigned himself to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to learn these things, and then I'm going to go back to my life painting murals on the side of neighborhood houses.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm not going to get started on Rocky. They're my favorite movies.
I love them so much.
And Rocky 1 especially is one of my favorites because it's such an intelligent portrayal of a man who's like genuinely building a sense of self-worth and evaluating his relationship to violence as like the only thing that's ever brought him any achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great. I love it. This is our brief Rocky digression. The first Rocky movie is great because it like I know like very much some of the Rocky movies are about the boxing, and the first Rocky could not be less about the act of boxing. It truly is a working class guy in Philadelphia shot on the streets of Philadelphia in a way that it captures such a specific moment in time, but it's just kind of a picture of this working class guy getting a shot that he has to feel like he's got to earn.
Yeah, because he's not going to make anything of this shot unless he can convince himself he deserves it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a moving and sensitive movie. If you have not watched it, it is not the schlock that the later movies may have convinced the zeitgeist it is. The later movies are also very fun.
They're great. I love them. But like the first Rocky and the first Creed are very special films for what they are.
Good. Okay. No,
anyway, moving on.
Anyway, so I drew for what you hope to gain. I drew the world again, which is again this image of Yggdrasil, the world tree. And I'm noticing that there's like a cavern in it. There's this like body with the runes etched up one arm and down the leg. There's candles to either side. Like this is genuinely an image that kind of beckons something deeper. And so like I think Lucian was set to inherit the business, but I think he has had a nagging feeling for a very long time that there is something more important than that. And he's had a nagging feeling for a very long time that there's more to the world than inheriting a car dealership. I decided just now.
I like that. That's great.
And so this is his chance to kind of embark on something maybe that he feels matters what might be the first time. I
love that. I really love that. Now, the last card that I drew, how does the speaking gem talk to you in dreams? I drew the Hierophant, which is West Philly's own Questlove.
I love that.
And I think I'm going to take that as like a fairly literal beat here. I think that like it is that experience of getting a song stuck in your head in a dream. And it is, but in a sense where suddenly the lyrics are slightly different, and like it is in that disconnect where messages become apparent. It is in that disconnect of, I know this song. I've listened to this song many times. Like, I know the next line. It is not what I am hearing in my head at this moment. And it is the phrasing of that. It is the act of like recognizing that disconnect and dissecting that disconnect in the way that like a song has become stuck in your head. You start to dissect it, and it starts to loop, and you start to really like closely analyze it. I think it is that act that is how the messages come across.
Oh, that's so good. I'm also noticing that like Phil seems very like media connected in a way that Lucian isn't, which I might be just a quirk of the two different decks we chose, but I love it.
I like that a lot. I think that's a really good contrast between us.
Because like you would expect the one who's set to inherit the dealership to be the more worldly one, and he's more interested in money, certainly, but he's got no interest in pop culture. He doesn't follow sports. He doesn't
I like that. I really love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I drew strength, and strength is almost always an image of a figure, usually a girl, embracing a beast. And I've got in this one, there's this dire wolf with this rune etched on its head and this little pixie kind of calming it. And I think what I'm focusing really on the beast here is that I don't think Lucian dreams of cars. I don't think there are any cars in Lucian's dreams at all. I think they all like everybody just like rides animals in his dreams. And he started noticing it. He was like, this is supposed to be something that is a central thing in my life, and it's never present in my dreams. And after that, he started seeing this like recurring wolf that was giving him like, hey, come here body language. And it's like there are still highways and stuff, but everybody's just on like horses and dogs and lions and stuff.
I like that.
And so
I love that.
The speaking gem is manifested as this like wolf that's trying to get him to follow it.
That's great. That's fantastic. And so with that, the two Green brothers have arrived at Brackroot Academy. Now we are going to determine our house assignment. We are going to take the first 5 major arcana cards. We are going to shuffle them, and we are going to pull one to find out what house we've been assigned to. And then we are going to, there's a little bit of like description of what the house is, and we're going to describe how we relate to that house.
Yeah.
I have drawn the House of Elements. I drew Major Arcana 5. I drew the House of Elements, the wildest of the quintet. They maintain control with help of the spires. They symbolize excess and power, and they represent the strength of unity. They carry one or more of marks of cleverness, hunger, and negligence. The dorm is under the main school building, but furnished with enchanted windows that overlook the neighboring mountains.
I drew the Hierophant too.
Oh my god, I cannot believe we've been drafted into the same house.
I'm so glad.
I'm very, very pleased with this. This is great.
I'm very pleased.
So how does Lucian relate to the House of Elements? Like, what's the vibe that you get?
I think Lucian was really kind of hoping for House of Panthers. But I think honestly, I'm picking the hunger. Because like, even though he's starting to realize that what he hungers for might not be money, he's still kind of got that ambitious devil nature.
I think that I was kind of hoping for Celestials. I think that Phil, like, there's something about the Celestials that was calling to Phil. I think that, like, he kind of wears the mark of, I think he's been handed the mark of cleverness. I think he kind of maybe started to reach or like got in line to collect the mark of negligence, and then was handed cleverness, and like he doesn't quite know what to do with that. Cause I think that like the very Rocky like reaction of this thing has landed in my lap, and like I guess I'm accepting it, but I don't quite understand it yet.
Yeah. Listen, Rocky's low self-esteem is...
It's important. It's
important to the character. But it's...
All right.
Okay, let's see here.
Now we are going to play through the 4 years of school. We're going to do a slightly abridged version of our 4-year experience. So what we're going to do, I'll read through the sequence, and then I'm going to explain how we're going to abridge it slightly.
We have to choose our specialties.
Oh, we didn't choose our specialties. You are correct.
Yeah, we have to do that. We have to
choose an area of intuition or skill where you always shine. Maybe you've never had a problem pointing out poisonous plants. Maybe you can predict the words and melody of a song on a first listen. We are going to name how our magic manifested around us in the mundane world.
I think Lucian never gets lost.
Ooh, I like that. I really like that.
I think it's a weird little quirk. So that's where he developed the habit of just walking off into the woods, because they never get lost. Like, no matter how long they walk, they know where they are.
I like that. I really like that. I think that Phil, tying back into that sense of, you mentioned the world, you pointed out the worldliness, and I want to lean into that a little bit. I think that Phil, if he describes a piece of art to you, even if you have never seen that art before, and he starts to describe it in this, like, yeah, the thing with it's the song that's like the da 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 da, like, you immediately are able to be like, oh, you mean Beethoven's Fifth, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's this, like, you could pay, like, he could be like, the painting with, it's the painting with, and like, you immediately know what the painting is, like, you visualize it, you can hear it, you can see it perfectly in your, and like, it's never just like, you don't get maybe the full experience of experiencing the art, but like, what he's talking, like, you are aware of whatever the thing he is talking about is, as with however vague and stumbling his descriptions are.
That's adorable. I love that.
I really like that. I'm very, very happy with it. So, we're going to spend 4 years at our academy. How this is going to work, we have our 4 minor arcana suits sorted out in front of us. We are going to draw 3 cards from our corresponding arcana deck. Each deck represents 1 year of our time at the academy. We're going to place these 3 cards face down in front of us. Traditionally, we would follow this process for all 3 of these cards, because we're going to abridge the process slightly. We're only going to do the first card that we flip, but we are going to have all 3 cards in front of us for the purposes of our final duel. We are going to draw a card from our major arcana deck, we are going to draw a minor arcana card that is going to give us a prompt, and a card from the major arcana deck to give us to inspire us for a response to that prompt. So we're going to have a minor card and a major card in front of us. We're going to describe what happens. The other person is going to kind of describe how their rival relates to that event. Then we're going to go to answer the other person's question. Once we've both answered a question, we'll move on to the next year. Once we've gone through all 4 years, there are prompts in between each year that we will answer. And then we will have our final duel at the end of the game.
Yeah. We're going to see which of the brothers is the best. Because here's the thing. The game makes it very explicit. The Green brothers are prodigies.
We are prodigies.
We're so good at this.
I love, and I like that. Like, does Lucian does Lucian see himself as a prodigy?
I think, like, every stage of Lucian's life has had a different answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Lucian was a very, like, precocious kid, very fast growing, and so received a lot of "you're so smart" adult attention when he was quite small. And then they underachieved a little bit in high school, not enough to, like, seriously shake the adults around them, but enough to really throw into doubt their own sense of themselves as a prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
And now here it's like, oh, this is a familiar feeling for Lucian. It's a nostalgic feeling to exceed people's expectations again.
I like that. I really like that. That's great.
What about Phil?
I think that Phil has again, Rocky's lack of self-esteem is very important to both the character and also to me. Yeah. And I think that it is very, very much, that sense of, like, everyone has told Phil he's a prodigy and Phil has never actually accepted it. Like with this mural thing, I think that, like, Phil, like, did this beautiful mural and then left for a magical academy. and everybody was like, it's beautiful, and Phil was like, it is what, I kind of want, I was leaving, I didn't want to just kind of leave without like, I didn't want to just kind of like leave without doing anything. And like, Phil is the kind of person to like very quickly brush off someone's like affirmation.
Mm. I like this because my sister and I have a recurring argument over which of us is the smart one. It's her. She has multiple degrees. She is a professional scientist. She's like genuinely the smartest person I know. She insists it's me because I do everything. And I would like it if Lucian and Phil had a similar relationship where it's like
I really like that.
Lucian knows how to talk to adults. Lucian knows how to talk to people. Lucian knows how to kind of grease the wheels. Like, was impressing people with like academic performance. But like Lucian looks at things like the model and is like at the mural rather as like, see, this is the kind of thing that actually matters. Like, I feel like I understand things and I feel like I can perform, but like I am not a person I would like. Lucian would never call himself talented.
And I think that Phil has the opposite reaction where it's like, yeah, I can paint a pretty picture, but like I can't talk to I can't talk to people. Like I don't understand things like that. You know what I mean? Like I think that it's a lot of like, yeah, I can paint a pretty picture, but like that doesn't translate to the real world at all.
So yeah, I'd like for them to have this mutual, just like, no, my brother's the smart one relationship.
A rival. We're rivals in reverse. We're rivals in no.
Yeah.
You're the one that's supposed to win.
Especially since like we're at a magic school.
Yeah.
So I think Lucian is like, no, this is a talent thing. This is a soul thing. Like this is Phil's stuff. I'm the normal one.
Oh, and I think Phil is like, yeah, but like this isn't gonna go in, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think Phil's tied so deeply to this idea of, yeah, but this isn't gonna like go anywhere. Like this is gonna be a fun diversion in my life, and then you're gonna go off and do amazing things, and I'm gonna kind of hang around. Yeah. I'm gonna hang around town.
But that's because our dad always asked you how art was gonna pay your bills, and that was honestly kind of a jerk move of him.
All right, so we've got our 3 cards. I got my 3 cards in front of me.
Okay, I should get my 3 cards.
We'll draw our first card.
Yeah. So we've got 3 of them, and 2 of them are going to remain a secret, and the first one we're going to draw is going to be the big event of the year.
Yes. So our first year is we have a lot to learn. We have days filled with discovery and wonder. We'll flip our cards at the same time, and then we'll answer our questions. I have drawn the 7 of Wands.
I've drawn the Knight of Wands.
The 7 of Wands, you led a workshop involving the manipulation of time because you discovered more efficient ways of using chronomancy magic, but your workshop was sabotaged and the headmaster was critical of the way you handled it. What happened? Do you know who was responsible, and how did you rebuild your reputation?
Oh no, Phil. Who dares?
Who dares?
I'm starting to actually get very mad that somebody sabotaged my baby brother on his big chronomancy day.
I mean that's a good character, and that's the question of like where the rival fits in, is that you saw this play out and got very mad, right? Like,
oh yeah. And like I'm never gonna forget that I drew the devil for Lucian. Like if one of us is gonna get mad and wreck up the place, it is Lucian.
And I kind of like. I think what it was that the way that I used chronomancy magic was like, I think Phil is a doodler in class.
Yeah.
And I think that I actually think this was the professor of the class that sabotaged it.
Oh,
I think this was a teacher.
I
think this was a teacher pulling a dick move.
Oh.
This is Professor Illusorum. This workshop is a very fancy way of describing. I was using chronomancy magic to like take breaks in class and like draw things that were getting more and more elaborate, and I was leaving class with like full canvas paintings. And like the teacher like it was like, and so I was teaching other kids to do this so that people could take like fuck around time during class without disrupting the flow of class, but the teacher found this disrespectful regardless of the fact that it was kind of an ideal solution, and found a spell to effectively like trap us in this like frozen time bubble so that when we came out of it we had missed a test.
No.
Kind of a bad move for a teacher. Not great.
Yeah, like you shouldn't be that petty if you're teaching, but well, that's it happens.
That's teaching.
I'm trying to take notes here, so I'm kind of all over the place. Okay. So now we draw a major arcana to answer some of the questions.
Oh, yes. I just immediately went for an answer and forgot to draw a card.
Yeah,
there's
still some things we can flesh out.
There is, especially because like the big question of how you rebuilt your reputation. I drew the moon.
Oh, that's neat.
The moon here is represented by the Billy Penn statue, which was for a long time the tallest building in the city. Also, it was crafted in a way that if you look at it from the right angle, it looks like he's peeing, which is very funny. That's just a good bit of architectural humor that I hold in my heart.
Oh.
And what do I think? I think...
Oh, maybe this has something to do with that change in perspective.
Yeah. I think maybe this is a moment where I think that this is Phil kind of realizing that this is Phil. A lot of people have puffed Phil up, have built Phil up over the years. And Phil has kind of brushed it off. Phil has kind of been like, you know, if you say something nice about Phil, he kind of recoils a little bit. He pulls back. This is the first time somebody hasn't said something nice about Phil. This is the first time somebody has like set Phil up to fail very specifically. And I think this is the moment of, well, no, fuck you. I'm going to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is realizing that he's great out of spite is what this is. This is a real changing of his, like, how he carries himself, because he's like, well, now I got something to prove, and now I'm going to give everything I got.
Oh, that's such a Philly fanatic energy. That's such a good energy. I love it. It's also kind of that gritty energy we were talking about, where like the initial reaction of the world to gritty was what prompted Philadelphia to really like adopt him.
We saw gritty. We went, the fuck is this? And then people outside of Philly went, haha, what the fuck is this? And we said, how fucking dare you?
That's our son.
That's our son. Fuck you. We love him.
Yeah.
Only we get to make fun of gritty.
And now nobody does, because everyone knows
nobody does. We proved that we were right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this like absolutely how dare you?
Yeah.
Wait a second, how dare you? Like I'm not worth anything, but how dare you undermine me?
How dare you? I like that. I like that a great deal.
That's okay. I do the Knight of Wands.
All right, talk to me about the Knight of Wands.
Your first potion making assignment involved snake scales, snail mucus, a fresh drop of blood, and 3 heartbeats worth of breath. How did you get the ingredients? What kind of potion did you make? Did you drink it? What grade did you get? So, like, honestly, I think the first 2 were pretty easy. Lucian's good at talking to people and has a love of nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Lucian has friends who like keep animals.
Mm-hmm.
And was just like, hey, do you have any shed like snake skin I could borrow some scales off of? Hey, can I hang out with your snail buddy for a while? I just need a bit of his snot. And I mean, Lucian's also very self-reliant, so the blood and breath are his.
Right, sure.
Because that's easy. And my major arcana is the Wheel of Fortune. Oh.
So the big questions that we have are, what is the potion and what grade did you get? And then the big question of once we know both of those, I think we can answer if you drank it or not.
Yeah. The Wheel of Fortune. It was the first potion making assignment, so maybe it was a good luck potion.
That feels right. That feels good.
Some very basic beginner, like good luck potion stuff.
I like that. I
And
really like that.
you know what? Lucian didn't drink it.
Hmm.
Lucian didn't drink it. He saved it as a gift for the friend he borrowed the snake scales and snail mucus from.
I like that. I really like that.
He got a good grade. Like he's a prodigy. The Wheel of Fortune is a card of success. The professor was like, yes, you nailed it. And Lucian was like, great. This is gonna be maybe he's a little invested in impressing this friend.
Oh, I like that. That's there's some juicy threads to pull there. I like that.
So he ties a cute little thank you note to the neck of the bottle and brings it to like his weird animal friend's dorm.
I think that this is a moment. I think that where Phil lives here is this is a moment. Maybe playing with chronology a little bit. Maybe this is the moment that kind of gets Phil. Phil just thinks that is such a like an immediately such a cool thing, and it's the proof that you're the prodigy of the two of us. I mean, you nailed this on the first try. Like that's it. That's the proof that you are the prodigy of the two of us. But I also think that this is the moment that Phil is like tickled by the possibilities of like magic and kind of starts like fucking with chronomancy magic that ultimately leads to him making this little time bubble.
Yeah, this was an inspiring, like, okay, you can use magic for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's just kind of a like, oh, that's so cool. I wonder if, and like kind of leans into it in that way.
Oh, I have a question.
Hit me.
I read the initial like letter from the headmaster that's in the intro flavor text. And by the way, this game is gorgeously written.
This is beautifully laid out.
This is in all respect. I'm so glad I backed this on Kickstarter. I'm so eagerly waiting my physical copy. It's dreamy. But one of the things that it mentions is that we can have pets.
Oh.
Do either of the brothers have a pet? Do we have a shared pet?
I think we have a shared pet.
We have a shared pet. Okay. Let's just each of us say a couple traits of this pet. My trait is dumb.
Obnoxiously friendly.
More athletic than you want.
Cowardly.
Okay. So we have got a very energetic, very capable, not very intelligent, not very brave pet.
Yes.
Like I'm imagining just like either one of the really massive breeds of cat or a dog.
This is a real Jeff story. I'm finding a way to give the Jeff Stormer answer of why not both, which is both cats that I have had as an adult. Carla, who is scratching at my office door trying to get in, and Cleo, who was a miserable jerk that I loved with all of my heart for many, many years, were cats that we needed dog-sized collars and harnesses for.
Yeah.
And so, like, anytime we would show someone, we would talk to a pet store and be like, we need a collar, we need a harness, we need something. They'd be like, oh, you actually need a dog harness. So it's just a giant cat.
For many years, I had a pet tortoise, and I would always describe him as being dumb but smarter than you want him to be, and slow but faster than you want him to be.
That feels like our pet.
It's like is a really large cat.
Yeah.
That loves people, genuinely loves people, can get on any surface in our dorm.
I'm gonna push
10-foot vertical leap.
I'm gonna push the detail even further and make this. Yeah. This is, I think that like the cat was always big. When we got to Brackroot, this cat is the size of like a pit bull, somewhere between a pit, not quite as large as a Great Dane, but like the size of like a decently sized pit bull. This cat has grown dramatically and is now the size of like from the size of like a large cat to the size of a pretty large dog.
And I think the brothers were also expecting this cat to get smarter, and it has not
even a little bit. No, not even not in the slightest.
We're just like, okay, so you're gonna become like a large, enlightened, like magical creature. No,
just got large. Big. Just got big. Just got bigger, and that's just it's caused some problems.
Yes, absolutely. He causes problems. He is, I want to say kind of Maine Coonish,
Yep.
just because I love how shaggy and fluffy they are.
And the idea of a Maine Coon that is massive and this gigantic
Yeah.
ball of fur that is the size of a
Yeah.
pit bull is very fun.
If we've had him for a while, maybe we named him when we were kids. Okay. When we were kids, we named this cat Spider-Man.
Love it.
Now we call him Peter. It is short for Peter Parker.
Sure, absolutely. Of course.
But we do not tell people that.
That's great. That's great. I like that a lot.
And now that he can get on like every surface, there's nowhere he can't go. Spider-Man actually turned out to be a
Turned out to be
good
pretty
name.
accurate.
Yeah. I love Spider-Man. What a good cat.
Good cat. Great cat. So,
What a great boy. Okay.
we had a break between our first and second year. How did we spend our downtime? Did we miss having access to magic, or did we remain at the academy? And what did our rival do during this time?
That's a good question.
I think that Phil stayed at the academy. And I think this was maybe like this. I'm going to ask how Lucian reacted to that. But like, I think that everybody kind of expected Phil to just kind of like come home. I don't think Phil has ever shown the kind of like initiative that would be implied of like staying at the school and studying and hitting the books and things. Like, I don't think that is ever a thing Phil has done in any of the time of in any point in his life has he made the decision to like double down, stay behind, and hit the books.
Yeah. And I think Lucian wanted to stay behind, but fell into the familiar pattern of covering for Phil with their parents. So Lucian chose to go back home to catch up with the folks, to say, no, Phil's decided to stay and study. He's doing great. Like, you'd be so proud of him. He's doing a wonderful job. He sends his regrets and he loves you both very much. I don't know whether or not he genuinely sent his regrets, but Lucian's going to say that.
I like that. I really like that. I really like that a lot.
He does miss having access to magic.
I think that Phil barely uses the magic. I think that it's a lot of like book reading, but I think that Phil being Phil like overlooks the magical possibilities of being at the academy in favor of like, I gotta study. Like, I'm trying to make sure that I get better. I get better. I gotta get my GPA up because I didn't get a great grade in that class.
Yeah. I think Lucian spends the time that he's not covering for Phil in the woods.
I love it.
He spends, I think, a lot more time in the woods than he did before going to school. And then things took a darker turn as we entered our second year.
Yes, indeed. Let's draw 3 more cards.
3 more cards. These ones are cups.
These are cups.
It's funny that things took a darker turn, and this is cups. It's
the suit of good times.
The suit of good times, mostly.
All right. My minor arcana card that I will be answering today is the 6 of cheesesteaks.
So much.
During an afternoon stroll around the campus lake, a shocking magical force launched me above the water. Right as you dropped in the middle of the lake, you saw someone on the shore. The water rushed around you and bargained for the last words you'll ever speak in exchange for your release. Your lips forever have a blue tint to them as a result of this bargain. Who did you see on the shore? Which words did you give up? And do you tell anyone about the lake? And did they believe you? Wow. It did indeed take a darker turn.
It did indeed take a darker turn. Well, you're going to have to tell Lucian. Otherwise, Lucian's going to insist on taking you to the fucking hospital because your lips are blue.
Yes, absolutely.
They are so concerned.
Absolutely. The words. I'm gonna draw my major arcana because I'm feeling like I need the push for pretty much all of these questions. Okay. This is good. This is compelling. As I drew once again, temperance represented by Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lake in this card. His 1 foot is in the lake, and I'm thinking about Joel as a player, and I'm thinking about. I think that this is. I'm pulling on the literal. I like that this is like a sports star. I like that this is like a prominent player on one of the league's one of the school's sports teams. I like that a lot. I like that energy a lot. I also like I like that I'm thinking specifically also about like the idea of the MVP, right? Like the idea that this is somebody with a spotlight on them. And I'm thinking about how that person would relate to somebody who is in a lot of respects like held up as a like this person is great and kind of is very quick to push away that mentality and how infuriating that's got to be.
Mm.
And so my brain goes to that this is like a student that is an all-star athlete. I'm giving them they them pronouns. Their name is, let's go, Claudette. Claudette, they them pronouns. Claudette is like the star cross team athlete, which is rare for any college, let alone like a magical one. Plays in multiple sports. They are like a poster child for the school at large, and you know, the conversation pretty much is around them in a big way, except when it's around Phil, and people talk about Phil, and it comes up as like, oh my god, did you hear about Phil's like time freezing class? Did you hear that like he got a teacher so mad that the teacher got in trouble for trying to sabotage him?
Oh.
And I think this person, like, I think that it and any time Claudette would go to Phil and like talk to them as like and whether it is as an equal or a rival or anything else, Phil is quick to be like, no, this isn't me. I don't have any interest in this. Like, this isn't, I'm not the person that people are describing. So this was a case of like Claudette getting so angry that it was more I am putting you in this position to force you to do something exceptional or die. It's one or the other.
Yeah. How dare you kind of like, we've been given a gift, and how dare you
not own that gift for everything that it is?
Yeah. Oh. Did you tell Lucian who you saw?
No, because I knew you would do something about it.
Yeah, 100%.
No, because I knew that you would act, and I did not want you to do that.
That's correct. That is 100% correct.
It's so funny because like so much of Phil, I can, especially in the first, you will know this and agree with it. Especially in the first Rocky movie, he has such a specific way of mumble rambling that I can hear it in my head as I'm answering these questions. Or it's like, no, I didn't want to get Claudette into a thing. I knew Lucian was going to do something about it. Claudette's dealing with their own thing. I mean, you got to be dealing with your own thing to push somebody into a lake and try, and make a bargain. Like, you got to be dealing with some shit. So I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want it to be a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can just hear it. I can hear Stallone in my head giving these long, circuitous responses to these questions.
He wrote Rocky, and just,
it's astounding.
The man doesn't.
He wrote Rocky, and then he rewrote First Blood, and the fact that both of those are movies that like are fascinating, weird little character dramas that then evolve into gigantic, weird Hollywood machine films is fascinating to me.
Why the man is famous as an action star and not as a writer infuriates me. Because like, especially when he starts a franchise, it's so sensitive and so thoughtful. Really just thoughtful and beautiful writer. And yet he plays severely mentally ill people in such a way that people have just permanently associated him with a dumb guy.
Yeah. So what is Lucian's card?
I drew the 10 of Cups.
Okay.
Your favorite professor was ousted from the academy after it was revealed they had ties to an association attempting to gain control of the school. Before they were escorted away, they entrusted you with a small sealed chest. Who was the professor? What did they teach? How did you get the chest open? And what did you find inside? I think this was the botany prof.
Mm-hmm.
I think like that seems like it would be Lucian's favorite subject. Okay. The major I've drawn is the High Priestess. So I think Lucian's favorite professor is, let's say, I know the first name. The first name is Luna. I'm just looking for a something foresty maybe because it's
Luna
like
Deciduum?
De Silva.
De Silva. I like that.
That's what I was groping for. It was De Silva
De Silva's good.
from the woods, and she's the botany instructor, and genuinely just like a very kind of gentle and quiet soul, the kind of person that Lucian is instinctively jealous of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Lucian almost kind of sees a bit of maybe their mom and definitely a bit of Phil in Professor De Silva, the kind of person who's like gentle and talented and who understands the ways of a beautiful world in a way that he feels he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that appreciation of beauty is part of participating in a beautiful world, but I don't think Lucian sees himself that way.
Okay, sure.
But Professor De Silva was somebody who Lucian trusts a great deal. And so Lucian gets this small sealed chest, and this is the High Priestess. So I think that the lock only gives way if the box has not been looked at for a full moon cycle. The High Priestess is a card of secrets, of like forbidden knowledge. So I think actually like not even looking at it for a month is what gets the lock to go.
Okay, I like that. That's interesting.
And Lucian finds two things inside. He finds a signet ring with, let's say, a lily of the valley on it.
Okay.
And a letter, 2 letters, one for him from his teacher, and a letter of introduction that his teacher says to give to the right person when the time is right.
Oh.
So this was very just like, hey, the secret society, this is kind of an open door to get involved with them.
I like that. That's good. Now, Kat, I'm going to propose something.
Yes.
I'm looking at the time. I'm thinking this through, and I'm loving these characters in the story.
I love these boys.
Do we want to? Here's what I'm going to propose. We've got about a half hour left in our episode.
Okay.
Do we want to go back and just answer the other 2 wands and cups questions, end with the end of our second year, and then make a second episode, our third, fourth year in the duel? All right.
I would genuinely love that.
Then we are going to flash back before we get to the end of our second year. We are going to flash back, and we are going to follow through on the first on the remaining 2 questions for wands and then cups, and then we will end our ending of our second year before revealing our upper class years on our duel in our next episode.
Yes.
So, our next card. So, flashing back, we know what's going to unfold in year 2, which is also an interesting dynamic.
Also, Lucian did not tell Phil about the box.
Okay.
Although Phil may have noticed that Lucian now wears a chain around his neck.
I think that Phil noticed that, but just thought that they found a cool chain.
Exactly. And like, it's long enough that the ring itself is typically inside their clothing.
I like that. That's great.
But does always wear it.
So I have the King of Wands. My first
King
year,
Wands.
I found a familiar, a docile demon sworn to you on a rainy day. In the isolation of studying, was wearing you down. What animal form did it take? What name did we agree to? How has the creature helped you at the academy? What did it ask for in return, and where is it now? Kat, I did just grab the first card because I was like, it's gonna help me flesh it out. I did not expect that card to be death. And I certainly did not expect that card to be Edgar Allan Poe standing next to a skeleton with a hand on his shoulder.
Oh.
But
is it just a raven? Is it just an good old fashioned raven familiar?
I'm gonna go even further and say it is in fact a skeleton.
Yeah.
I was studying anatomy, which in a magical academy is also the anatomy of magical things, of monsters and all sorts of stuff. And the teaching skeleton just came to life and started answering questions for me.
Ah.
We settled on after Phil made himself laugh for a great long time making bone jokes.
Yeah,
We
you
settled on
gotta.
Smiley because the skeleton did not appreciate a name, did not want a name that was a bones pun, and so we settled on Smiley because it had a positive energy to it.
I love Smiley.
Smiley the skeleton asked for in return. What does it ask for in return? Maybe it asks for maybe it asks for secrets. It
Oh.
it and it presents it in that kind of like devilish way of like, I can't leave the anatomy lab. So I don't know what's going on, but I don't just want updates on day-to-day life. I want you to find things that like people shouldn't know. Those are what I want. And so it is collecting secrets in return. And it stays in the lab, and I just like go and hang out with it sometimes and give it secrets. Just whatever I pick up because I'm around a lot and people tend to forget that I'm there, and then they talk freely about stuff, and I give that back to the skeleton.
I would love it if you would occasionally hang out with Lucian and Smiley at the same time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I feel like Lucian and Smiley get along great.
I think
Lucian
the
gets
two
along
of
with
you
people.
are just a blast together.
Yeah.
And like Lucian and like Frank and Phil genuinely likes fading into the background sometimes. And
Yeah.
like it's one of the reasons why Phil, I think, gets along with Lucian is that Lucian talks to people and Phil can kind of phase out a little bit. And, you know, Smiley has a very similar energy, so just kind of brings that to like the two of you kind of hang around. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
use the two of you bounce off of each other and allows Phil to just vibe a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Lucian is used to covering for Phil in that way. When it's like, no, part of me being here is that I'm the I'm the target.
Yeah.
for all of the kind of energy expenditure you're asking of us. And Phil can engage if he wants to, but me being here kind of gives Phil an excuse not to.
Yeah.
If he doesn't feel like it. And I think Smiley's hilarious. He's so funny.
I think he's great.
It would be a shame if one day he told Lucian who put you in the lake, huh?
It would be. It would be a damn shame.
That would be a shame. That would be a shame if Smiley did that. I actually drew the 7 of Wands, so I redrew because I was like, we already did the 7 of Wands. 2 of Wands. Uh-oh. Elemental magic is beyond most first-year students, but you tamed fire as though you've danced in flames your whole life. Your eyes turned gold and now forever glow orange, seemingly never dimming. A reclusive professor marked your success with snide comments, insinuating you didn't deserve your abilities. Who was this professor? What subject did they teach? What did you do to display your new abilities?
This is a rare opera. If I may propose, I'm feeling like we might be on the same page about something.
That we don't like Professor Illusorum?
Oh, I was gonna propose that, like, I was gonna say a rare opportunity presented by playing that previous round out of order was, damn, this Professor De Silva seems real snide about the fact that you're flashing these abilities around.
Oh, yeah.
But I also Illusorum, like that also, if we're in the same elemental magic class and that's just where I'm fucking around and we both just don't like Professor Illusorum, that's fantastic.
Because, like, marked your success with snide comments seems like the kind of professor who would also sabotage somebody's spell.
If he felt they were disrespecting his class.
I drew Temperance, Temperance is an interesting card because it's about combination of opposites.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically like the symbol for water is on one jug and the symbol for fire is the other, and the angel is mixing them together. Alchemically, there's 1 foot in water and 1 foot on land in the traditional Temperance. And so, like, let me think here. What subject does Professor Illusorum teach that Phil is always goofing off in that class?
I think it is I'm gonna go with divination magic. I think that it is it is the magic of like reading signs, reading leaves, reading the stars, reading the magical waves of the world and seeing past, present, and future, and it is all very like it's all and like because that also conveys that, like, that also gives it this sense of gravitas, right? It's like you must not meddle with knowledge that you are not meant to have, and it kind of lends itself to this sort of puffed up view of like the teacher that's like, my work is that, like, the work that I do is important, and therefore, like, you should respect it.
I think Lucian boiled the scrying pool.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the inside of the pool is black obsidian, and there's a big placid pool of water. Water scrying, I'm not very good. I'm a huge divination nerd. Anything that humanity has used to tell the future, I have studied, read about, or tried.
Mm-hmm.
If I find out about it. Like, I adore it. I have read palms, I've read tea leaves. It's my favorite thing in the world. But I am so bad at scrying. I can't relax my eyes enough to see in a crystal ball, of which I have many, or like in water. But it's very difficult, but it's also kind of the most spiritual and focused and prestigious. And so I think that the professor was like trying to demonstrate how to scry in a pool, and is like, this is probably going to be beyond all of you. And I boiled it.
I love that.
And he got a face full of steam. And then I made tea for the class.
I like that. I really love that.
Because I think this is probably after the chronomancy thing, and Lucian is like, no, I'm going to perform added disrespects upon you.
I like that. That's fantastic. What a good. That's really good. Is the thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit class clown, and it's a little bit absolutely
spiteful.
I very spiteful.
So my other card is the Ace of Wands. You attempted portal magic for the first time. It came naturally to you. All you had to do was envision a place and you could open a portal. Where did your first portal go? But then one portal attempt went wrong. What scar did it leave on you, and have you recovered? The World is a good card draw for this.
Oh, dang.
I love that a lot. I love the World a lot for this. And I love the idea. This is such a good, like, Phil doesn't realize what makes Phil special moment. Because Phil's just like taking jaunts to Mount Everest on the weekends. Like, he's just like, because he's like an artist, he's like making music or paintings or whatever, and he's just like, it would be cool to like see what the Eiffel Tower looks like, and he envisions it, and a portal pops up, and like, I think that maybe it's that Lucian like sees this happening, sees this occurring, and goes like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how are like, it's just kind of like,
is that Everest, my dude?
Oh yeah, I was doing a thing. I was making a sketch, and I figured it was easier to pop open the portal and just kind of see it. You can see it through kind of a window. I haven't really stepped through the portals. I just kind of have been, using it for photo reference. I figured it was an easier, you want to see it directly. I don't want to just try to draw off of a photo, because I'm going to be kind of mirroring the photo.
That's the actual Everest, though, hey?
Oh, yeah, it is. I realize you can, and kind of holds his hand through it. And I think, like, maybe that's where the portal injury has gone wrong, is he holds, like, one of his hands through it, and, like, there is, like, it's like, I think it is that, like, this is the first time part of him has passed through one of these portals, and there is, like, there is, like, something that happens. I don't want it to be necessarily frostbite. I don't necessarily want it to be like and I'm trying to decide, what do I want it to? Maybe it comes through, maybe his hand comes through, and like it is like there is a almost like a rainbow lava lamp pattern that is going every bit of the skin, that like fades after a moment, but like looks at it like, oh, that's not good.
Oh,
we shouldn't go through those portals, huh?
We should maybe wait a bit to go through the portals.
We should probably learn a little bit more about that. Didn't seem great.
We should study the portals a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to see it, though.
Oh yeah. No, that's extremely cool to see it. But your hand is lava lamp.
I'm gonna close the window, and like, I think it is truly that, like, in Phil's eyes, it was just consistently been a neat parlor, a neat reference to it.
I'm also like, because here's the thing, my sister and I look extremely different, but then we open our mouths and we have identical speech patterns. And I think maybe the Green Boys are like that.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that.
Lucian speaks a little bit more clearly when they're around other people, but when it's just them and Phil, it's like, no, man, what do you...
We fall right back into the mumbling pattern. I love that. I love that dearly.
And also another great thing about, like, no matter how off what I'm trying to say my words are, my sister always understands what I'm saying.
100%.
So, like, Phil can just... and every time Lucian's like, no, dude, we can't do that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like, these boys.
I love them. I love these. I love these brothers.
They're so good at magic. Okay. Oh, I got the 10 of wands. You walked in on a housemate having lunch with their parents. You quickly learned that if a student's parents attended the academy, they're welcome to visit the campus without the need for secrecy. Are you jealous of students who can be visited by loved ones? Who from your life before the academy do you wish you could show around? What part of the campus do you think they would like the most? I actually genuinely think that that Lucian is not jealous, just because I don't know if Lucian and Phil were particularly close before going to the academy, but I do think that they are now.
Yeah.
And that like who would be what? Dad? Dad's kind of a jerk. Like,
I kind of think that that's actually kind of I think that maybe that is a if I can push this even further.
Yes, please.
Maybe that's a moment of unexpected connection that we have.
Yeah.
Maybe we've never really like acknowledged that like Dad grates the fuck on both of our nerves.
Yeah.
Like maybe it is a moment where we have the conversation of like, would you invite somebody, like, if we had the ability? And we both kind of had, because like as you were reading it in my head, I was like, oh, Phil's not inviting anybody to this. This isn't. And I think maybe it is that surprising moment where we both kind of are like, no, I wouldn't invite. Who am I going to invite? Dad?
Yeah. Like, I mean, Mom maybe, but she'd insist on bringing Dad.
Yeah. Like, no, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. That guy's kind of a dick.
Yeah, like I don't know. He's not gonna enjoy this, and he's gonna make it our problem.
Yeah. And it's like, no, actually, honestly, being away from them has been
it's pretty great, right? I didn't want to be the one to say it, but it's pretty great.
It's been the easiest life has been. like even like Lucian is the one who typically impresses their father.
Mm-hmm.
And not having to, like, this is the first time in Lucian's life that they have not had to worry about impressing their father and just being like, oh, wait, I don't have to care. I'm going to draw a major. I have drawn the devil. So I do think that this is very much Lucian being like, no, actually, no, I genuinely don't. This is me being me. And also, I think that devil nature is something that Lucian gets from their father that they're kind of trying to shed now.
I love that.
Like, no, thinking about Dad makes me think about money, makes me think about jobs, makes me think about cars. Like, no, I can control fire.
Yeah, no, we're doing great. We're doing good.
You and me and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Glad Spider-Man came with us.
He is getting real big though, right? Like we can acknowledge that he's still growing, and I'm very worried about this.
Oh, absolutely. Are we gonna have to get him his own like
probably
room?
Yeah.
Oh my god. He's gonna get bed all to himself. He keeps sleeping in mine.
He's taking up more. It's more his bed than yours at this point.
Absolutely. I don't know. I fell out the other day.
Exactly.
He didn't mean to. Peter's a good boy. He didn't mean to.
And with that, we
Peter's
skip back.
A good boy.
We skip back forward to our second year.
With
I've drawn the 2 of Cups.
Oh, the smooching card.
Most of the woods surrounding the academy are off limits due to dangerous mystical beasts attracted to the speaking gem. You visited the woods your second year with several students. Third year swore it would be safe. It wasn't. What creatures tried to eat your magic? Which spell did you cast to protect? What did the visit cost you? And how were you punished? Let me draw a major arcana.
My question is, if you're going with several other students, are you bringing Lucian?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like, being around other students without my buffer brother is...
I'm even going to say it's that you brought me.
Yeah, that actually kind of tracks.
So I drew the star, and I like that. I'm thinking like magic eating will-o-wisps is very good.
Oh, that's so good.
And like the more magic, the more you eat, the more they grow, and the more that they grow, the hotter they become, and they go from just being like sparks on the water to fireballs to explosions to miniature suns. Like, it is a dangerous proposition. And they seem harmless, right? Like a will-o-wisp seems like a pretty harmless thing out on floating on the water, and then it gobbles up a magic spell, and then it's suddenly a fireball. The forest starts to burn. It gets out of hand real quick. I think that the way that I protected everybody was I opened up a portal. We all flew through the portal. I think that the rainbow markings, like what we realize as we kind of rush through that portal in a hurry, is that the effect that it has is it adds you know, the more of you that goes through it, the longer it is. So there's a couple days where, like, you know, magic is wild in a way that that it very much has never been before, and we are kind of not able to do magic for a little while without like causing dramatic danger. It you know, it is a like it makes things eldritch is how I will describe it. Like, there are rumblings beneath, you know, it makes it when you cast a spell, like suddenly, you know, you hear whispers of bargain. You hear whispers of like the bargains and the strings pulling on reality to make that spell happen. And it kind of exposes a little bit of the underpinnings of what magic could be. And that's kind of terrifying and also kind of like unnerving. And so it kind of is, I think the punishment is that like we are a little bit aware that the things that we are dabbling in are not safe to dabble in.
I think my pitch is that portals work by taking shortcuts through other magical realms.
That's sick. I like that.
And that when Phil does it, Phil is like taking a shortcut through a realm that like is extremely hostile.
Yeah.
And is full of like eldritch terrors. And it's like, no, there are other realms that like the professional portal casters use. They don't use this one because it does this.
Right. I like that. I love that dearly. I really, really like that.
And it's like, oh no, you can't take a shortcut through the Eldritch Rainbow Lava Lamp dimension. That's asking for
kind
trouble.
of the exposure of like, oh, this shit could kill us real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had to sit out classes until we weren't rainbow anymore.
Yeah.
Just stay home with Peter.
All right, what's your next card?
I got the Ace of Cups. You found a stack of books abandoned in the common room. Curious, you thumbed through them and realized certain highlighted passages linked together to form a phrase. A king is waiting for his constellation at the stroke of midnight. Find him in the river. Was this some elaborate prank or the mark of a secret society? Did you uncover more clues? Who do you think left the books in plain sight? There's a stream that breaks the campus in two. Could it be involved? I have drawn the Chariot. This is a weird card for my car hating dealership boy.
Mm-hmm.
But the Chariot is also a card of like action. And also there's always constellations usually featured on it. It's linked to the constellation of Cancer. So I think Lucian, this really fires up Lucian's curiosity, especially since now he's got that like secret society signet ring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, did somebody leave this out for him? It's a growing, am I going to find the person that I need to give this letter to?
And I think that my closing, my one very quick note before I flip my next card is like, as you are studying this and thinking about this, is the moment that Phil walks in with soaking wet with bright blue lips.
Yeah.
Not even meant really, like, kind of brushing it off like it's not a thing, like he's not covered, like he's not soaking wet with bright blue lips, and like,
oh yeah.
And like, but like, as you are reading, you know, find him in the river, there is a stream that breaks the campus in two. Suddenly you look over and your brother is soaking wet with blue lips.
And that totally derails Lucian. Totally, like, Lucian puts this thing aside because, like, whose ass do I have to kick? Oh, you don't know, you didn't see. Okay, well, okay.
So I
love that.
My next card is the Queen of Cups. Brackroot Academy is filled with secret passages and rooms, and this was the year you found your way in. One of the most notable rooms you discovered was a tomb of forgotten artifacts and relics. It was clear they hadn't been touched in a while, but you recognized some of them as from cautionary tales where arcane users were driven from their senses, turned to dust, empowered by demonic forces, or overwhelmed with the need for more power. What do you do about this discovery, and were you tempted to take any items? I have drawn the lovers. I kind of like... Oh, so the lovers here is also represented by Rodan's The Lovers, which is a great touch. And I think that it is... what I am taking from that is I think that Phil is not tempted to take any items.
Yeah.
Because I think that Phil is so attached to the stories. Like Phil, like there's this real like moment where Phil like is hearing about this and like of all of the sort of magical powers and magical artifacts and powerful things that are, you know, throughout this thing, Phil's thought is, well, yeah, but a person died. Like a person was rendered to dust. Like I think Phil latches on to the individual people and their stories. And I think that he tells all of this to Lucian and Smiley later, including like where it is, without realizing that they have been like that Lucian, they've been sort of in this secret society, like uncovering all of these secret conspiracies mindset, and like doesn't piece together that he kind of accidentally handed these secret societies a location of immense power.
Yeah, Lucian is a lot more curious than Phil is. This was not necessarily a wise choice.
Yeah, I think that Phil just kind of is fine with it.
Okay. And my last card is the Knight of Cups. Fewer and fewer students attended classes. Soon it was revealed they were missing from campus. It took weeks, but finally they were all discovered standing in a clearing in the woods, unblinking and silent. A large pillar floated before them, but as soon as a student was forcibly removed from the crowd, the pillar collapsed. When it hit the ground, it shattered, releasing the students from their trance. What did the missing students remember of this event? How do instructors ensure this doesn't happen again? Does one of the boys get pillared?
I think so.
I drew the devil again, so I think Lucian, in his curiosity, gets pillared.
I love that. I really like that.
That's because I think when I referred to the sensation of being a prodigy as being a nostalgic one, I think that like genuinely Lucian is very much an elementary schooler again. He's discovering the world. He's excited to learn. And so whatever it is this pillar does to snare people, I think it preys on that kind of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucian is absolutely. So yeah, I think like one day they don't have all the same classes, but one day Phil gets back to the dorm and Lucian is not there.
Yeah.
And like does not come home, and Peter's starting to really freak out.
I like that.
Because Peter loves the boys. Let's see. What did the missing students remember of this event? I did draw the devil. So I think that like genuinely there was a presence. There was a large and powerful, almost like godlike presence, a divine presence that was like not so much demanding anything of them as just like by its presence commanding their absolute attention to the point where the rest of the world just vanished for them. And at the same time, when a student was removed from the crowd, the pillar collapsed. So I think that like not only did the pillar need us to feed it with this attention, but we were also kind of forming a network with each other. And maybe like the one thing Lucian remembers is the fact that they were standing next to their animal friend, who they've kind of been developing feelings for. And like for a moment, the two of them were part of this huge thing together.
I like that. I really love that.
And the instructors ensure this doesn't happen by instituting a very strict buddy system and like sending some of the fourth year students out to the woods to presumably hunt down the magical creature that produces this. I don't know if they find it, but the buddy system is in place at this point.
That's great. Which brings us to the end of our second year. We had strange dreams during the last month of the school year. They became clearer as time wore on, and we realized it was the speaking gem calling to us. One night, we couldn't resist it any longer and felt compelled to visit the gem after midnight. It showed a secret path that others couldn't follow. Our rival arrived at the same time, so our brothers arrived at the same time. We both touched the gem simultaneously, and it said, "What you seek is hidden in the Grand Rotunda." The Grand Rotunda rests on a natural platform near the south end of campus. Do we visit the Rotunda, or do we let our rival go? So I guess both of us, do we visit the Rotunda?
Lucian does.
I think that Phil does only because Lucian does. I think the second that Lucian says they're going, Phil's like, all right, let's go. Well, if we visit, what do we find hidden in the Rotunda? Is it something we could take, or was it a door, an idea, a view, a person, a symbol?
Let's both of us pick one. I'm going to pick a symbol because I want to delve into this Lily of the Valley.
I also am picking a symbol because I also want to delve into a thing that came up in one of your cards.
Yeah.
I think there is a swirling, elaborate constellation visible from directly at this spot.
Yeah. And like growing at the spot where the constellation is visible, there is like a lily of the valley growing in the middle of the rotunda.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, looking up, you see this swirling constellation.
I love that.
What does that even mean?
Who knows?
We don't know.
And that is the end of our second year. We will leave our game here. We will pick it up on our next episode. But holy shit, this is fantastic.
This is so fun. I love these lads.
I love these lads so much. I'm so happy that we're going to get to like play through more of this.
Yes.
This is great. Thank you so much for coming on the show and playing this with me. I cannot wait to sit down and do it again.
I am so excited. I've had a wonderful time.
I'm thrilled. I'm happy. This is great. So real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Easiest place to find me is on Twitter at @CatlingGun. That's CATLING gun. Add more of those every time I do that.
It's good.
Oh well.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Please continue to do that.
But you can also find my podcasts and a lot of my games at peachgardengames.com. That's the easiest way to find me. You can find Sword of Symphonies and Roar to Heaven on your podcast app.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for coming on the show and playing this game with me. I cannot wait to play the second half of our game.
This is so fun.
I'm having a blast. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Kat for coming onto the show. I can't wait for part 2 because our game was so much fun. And I know part 2 is truly like just as fun because we've already played it. It's in the past. But like this game, we so immediately locked into the vibe that we wanted, and we so like immediately got onto the same level in the same space. I just was legitimately so blown away at how much fun this game was. This was a blast. I am overjoyed, and I'm so grateful that we got time to sit down and play this game together. Like I said, go check out the show notes for a link to the Solo But Not Alone bundle, pick up a bunch of cool solo role-playing games to raise money for a very good cause, and go check out all of Kat's other work, including Sword of Symphonies, Roar to Heaven, Peach Garden Games. It's all great. Kat's a tremendously talented person and a wonderful human being. You can find links to all of those things in the show notes, or you can find Kat on Twitter at @CatlingGun. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/PartyOfOnePodcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/PartyOfOnePodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/PartyOfOneDiscord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/PartyOfOneMerch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.